Good evening, everybody. Before we start, I just want to mention that Deputy Mayor Canestrino had a medical procedure today, so she will not be on the video. She'll only be on audio. And before we start, I want to, well, let's get the meeting started first. So, Madam Clerk.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec, notice of which was sent to the record in the Star Ledger and was posted on the municipal bulletin board. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act and recent regulations issued by the state of New Jersey, the following procedures will be in effect for public comment during this remote public meeting of the City Council. The public shall have an opportunity for comment during the designated public portion of this meeting. The time period for public comment is limited to 3 minutes for each speaker, and no person may address the council more than once except for speaking during an advertised public hearing for an ordinance. At the time designated for public comment, the mayor or other presiding officer of the council will recognize one speaker at a time. That speaker must identify himself or herself by full name and whether or not he or she resides in Hackensack. No other member of the public is permitted to speak unless recognized by the presiding officer, and other remote attendees may be muted during that time if necessary to eliminate background noise. Meeting attendees shall exhibit appropriate demeanor during this meeting as required in section 37-15 of the city code. In the event any member of the public becomes disruptive at any time, that individual may be muted by the presiding officer and will receive a warning that continued disruption may result in being prevented from speaking or removed from the meeting entirely. The Zoom meeting platform has a texting function. However, this is to be used only for the purpose of advising the city's IT staff of any technical concerns or issues. The public may also submit written public comments to be audibly read into the record by the city clerk during the public portion of any remote public meeting of the City Council. Comments can be submitted by regular mail or by email to asaby@hackensack.org. Comments received less than 5 hours before the start of a meeting may be carried to the next meeting. Any person who actually speaks during the public comment portion of a remote public meeting may not also have a comment read into the record. City clerk will stop reading a written comment into public record once it reaches the 3-minute limit. Duplicate written comments may be summarized and noted for the record in a consistent manner.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Here.
Councilmember Battaglia.
Here.
Mayor LaBrus.
Here. Okay, would everybody please rise for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America
And
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
visible,
with
with liberty and
justice
justice for all.
Okay, with that, we do have a couple proclamations tonight. And the first one is for National Public Health Week, which runs from April 5th through the 11th. Unfortunately, it has passed, but it reads, whereas the week of April 5th through 11th, 2021 is a National Public Health Week, and the theme is building bridges to better health. And whereas 6 in 10 US adults have a chronic disease and 4 in 10 have 2 or more health risks, such as alcoholism, obesity, and tobacco use, are the primary reasons for 7 of every 10 deaths annually in the United States. Whereas public health professionals help communities prevent, prepare for, withstand, and recover from the impact of a full range of health threats, including disease outbreaks, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, measles, natural disasters, and disasters caused by human activity. And whereas public health action, together with scientific and technological advances, has played a major role in reducing and in some cases, eliminating the spread of infectious disease and in establishing today's disease surveillance and control systems. And whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has illuminated and exacerbated racial inequities, and a growing number of local, state governments and public health leaders have declared racism as a public health crisis. Now, therefore, I, John P. LaBrus Jr., Mayor of the City of Hackensack, along with members of the Hackensack City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of April 5th through 11th, 2021, as National Public Health Week 2021, and call upon the people of Hackensack to observe this week by helping our families, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and leaders to better understand the value of public health and supporting great opportunities to adopt preventive lifestyle habits in light of this year's theme, building bridges to better health. And though this week is past, it does not mean that we should not continue to do the same and continue to make ourselves a more healthy community. So thank you. And the second proclamation is for Arbor Day, and it reads, whereas Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in the state of Nebraska. And whereas the city of Hackensack has for the 29th year in a row been recognized as a Tree City USA for its tree planting efforts. And whereas Arbor Day will be observed on Friday, April 30th, 2019, with the planting of a tree at Memorial Park. And whereas such tree shall be dedicated in memory of City Manager Ted Ehrenberg to honor his legacy and dedicated service to the city of Hackensack. Now, therefore, I, John P. LaBrosse Jr., Mayor of the city of Hackensack, with other members of the City Council, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 30th, 2021 as Arbor Day and urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees, parks, woodlands, and urban forest here in the city of Hackensack. And with that, since we're dedicating this tree in Ted Ehrenberg's honor, and as all of you know, we just lost our dear friend Ted Ehrenberg about 3 weeks ago, I'd like to have a moment of silence again for him, please. Thank you, everybody. And moving forward, I need a motion to adopt the minutes or the approved minutes of March 9th, 2021, the executive cow and regular minutes.
Mayor, you can do March 23rd also with that if you want.
And March 23rd, 2021, executive cow and regular minutes. So for both dates, March 9th and March 23rd, all 3 sessions.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg, absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrosse.
Aye. And I also need a motion for the approval of the minutes of April 13th, 2021 special meeting minutes.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrosse.
Aye. Okay, with that, we'll go right to city manager's report, which is, just so everybody knows, is was just mentioned, we lost our city manager, Ted Ehrenberg. Our fire chief, Tom Freeman, is serving as interim fire chief, and we appreciate him taking on this duty. So it's all yours, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor. It's interim city manager, permanent fire chief.
Did I say interim fire chief?
Yeah,
Sorry about
that's okay. I got it. Okay, first, the city of Hackensack will be hosting our shred event on June 19th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Sears parking lot. Next, our recreation department will offer a half-day summer camp program, and our splash pads are scheduled to open for the summer months. We also have spring programs that will be posted to our website. Our clerk's office and city council received a complaint regarding a location on Ackerson Street. Be advised that the proper city departments have been advised to investigate. The city will be hosting an Arbor Day ceremony on Friday, April 30th at 10 a.m. This year, the city will plant a tree at Memorial Park in memory of city manager Ted Ehrenberg. The type of tree is a cherry willow tree. Now, I would like to introduce CFO James Mangan with a presentation of the City of Hackensack's 2021 municipal budget.
Thanks, Chief. I'm going to be sharing my screen right now. Okay. Yeah, tonight is the presentation of the 2021 municipal budget. Okay, we've done this, several times before. Tonight's budget presentation, as I've done in the past, it'll start with talking about our mission. Okay, the budget is the financial plan on how the administration intends to carry out the vision of the mayor and council. So it always starts with the mission. We'll give an overview of the 2021 budget and talk about its impact on the tax levy and the projected tax rate. And then what I'd like to do is just talk for a little bit about the future. budgets shouldn't be considered as a one-time event. You really need to look at them as their impact on the future as well. Okay, so we start with our mission, and our mission has always been the same, hasn't changed. Improve the quality of life for Hackensack residents, where we define the quality of life as the ability to improve or increase services without increasing taxes. Okay, to define that more, what we try to do is in government, we try to make Hackensack cleaner. This would be, for example, our Department of Public Works. We try to make Hackensack safer through our public safety departments, fire, police, Board of Health, municipal court, and even our building department. We try to provide more and better opportunities for recreation and leisure. We do that through our recreation department, cultural arts department, and public library. And we also try to make Hackensack more affordable. And this is generally carried on by the balance of the other general government departments, finance, tax collection, tax assessment, the clerk's office, as well as the city manager's office. Okay, and the budget is our plan for achieving that mission. Okay, and what I'd like to do is how I've done it in the past, and that's start on the revenue side. There we go. But before I do, I just got to explain something a little bit. We introduced the budget on March 23rd. Okay, but as you know, the April 6th meeting of the mayor and council was canceled due to the death of Ted Ehrenberg. So tonight we'll be doing the budget presentation. We're doing that right now. That'll be followed by the public hearing on the budget. And then during the business session, the mayor and council will be passing the resolutions for our budget amendment and the adoption. Okay, so what's going to happen is tonight's budget presentation is going to include the numbers from the budget amendment. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. Okay, we started with the budget goal, okay, and we modified the goal a little bit a couple of years ago, but it's still pretty much the same, and that's to craft a budget that's accurate. Accuracy is one of the key things that we strive for. To craft a budget that's accurate and continues the policies that have achieved long-term tax stability. And the budget has to provide the funding and the plan for community improvements, redevelopment, and tax relief. Those three components are key to us being able to achieve our mission. Okay. I use this model because I like it. I like this model. I think it defines what we do pretty well.
Jim, excuse me. We lost your shared screen.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
at least I did. I don't know. Did anybody else?
Yeah, we
Yes.
also.
Okay, yeah, it's gone. It's gone. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Debbie.
Let's see. Okay, is it back?
It's back.
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know how that happened.
Gremlins.
Okay, all right, so we're good?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good, thanks. All right, as I said, I like this model. This model shows the three key components that we're trying to achieve. Community improvements are also infrastructure, okay? And by investing in our infrastructure, what that does is that attracts redevelopment. And as redevelopment comes into Hackensack, it gives us the tax revenue that we need to both provide tax relief for our residents, as well as being able to invest in more infrastructure, which in turn leads to more redevelopment, which in turn leads to tax relief. All of this then improves the quality of life. And as we said, quality of life, increasing service to the community without increasing taxes. Okay. Now, as far as the budget itself goes, we start with the revenue side. This year's budget is a decrease to the tax levy of 1.1%. And again, the tax levy is the portion of the budget that's paid for by property taxes. Okay. With tonight's budget amendment, the 2021 municipal tax levy will actually be $965,000 lower than it was last year. That'll give us a municipal tax levy of $425,577. As I said, $965,000 less than last year's levy of $85,391,000. The 2019 levy was $85,689,000, and the 2018 levy was $85,875,000. The 2021 municipal tax levy is actually $1.4 million lower than what it was in 2018. Okay. Now, over on the spending side, the total budget is $110,208,000. Okay, last year's budget was $109,212,000. So our spending increase in 2021 is $996,000, which is just under 1%. Now, in any budget, there are drivers to the spending increase. Okay, this year's budget, the total spending increase is $996,000, and the big culprits in the spending increase is our pension bill, which went up $718,000, and also our sewer treatment bill from the BCUA, the Bergen County Utilities Authority. That bill went up $546,000. So you see, these two items that we have no control over are actually 1.2 million. Total spending increase is 996,000. That means that the entire rest of the budget is a decrease of $268,000. Now, in the budget itself, okay, we have our salaries, which is the single largest item within the budget. It's 44.6 million. And in 2021, salaries rose fairly substantially, 2.94%. That's a big increase. And the reason for this is that in the last few years, unions have been bargaining for higher salary increases, and the city has been granting higher salary increases in the labor contracts in exchange for health benefit concessions. Back in 2019, Ted and I tried to map out our financial future, and health benefit costs were really a runaway train. So we knew that we were going to have to address that. You can't get health benefit concessions from the labor unions without offering something in return. And quite frankly, we felt that we would rather pay our employees than pay the doctors who were making out from our health benefits. I'll talk more about health benefits in a minute. The department's other expenses, department operating expenses. Now this dropped by close to 6%. This was the part of the budget that was the most difficult. This is where we said to the department heads, when you're doing your operating budget, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So if you don't need an item, don't budget for it. But your budget has to have the flexibility that if the pandemic ends tomorrow, we need to be able to provide services. Very, very difficult thing to do. The department heads really came through, and very proud of the job that they did in really difficult situations. I kept telling them that they don't teach us how to budget during a pandemic at CFO school. Okay, our health benefits and insurance, this rose very, very slightly in 2021, only 0.4%. Like I said earlier, since 2019, we have been successful at negotiating concessions with our unions for health benefits. And what that does is that stabilizes the health benefit budget. The problem with it, though, is that there's a delay. For example, later on tonight, will the mayor and council be voting to ratify the PBA contract. PBA contract has substantial health benefit concessions. Now, those concessions won't start until next year, 2022. They won't impact the budget until 2023, but you have to start somewhere. And our efforts to rein in health benefits for the last few years have been successful. Then we get to pensions, and pensions are a problem. As I indicated, pensions, one of the largest increases in this budget. The employer bill rose by 8.8%. And if you notice from the chart, 2020 saw a decrease in pensions. I was really encouraged last year. I thought that we had turned the tide on pension increases. I thought that the pension reform that was enacted in 2010 by the legislature was finally getting around to benefit the municipalities. I believed it last year. I still believe it. Problem happened in 2021. Earlier this year, the state changed the formula to calculate the employer pension bill, and our pension bill went up $800,000. Not just ours, every municipality in New Jersey has the same problem, but it tends to hit us a little bit harder. Okay. Now, I've used this chart in the past. This chart shows the percentage change to the tax levy going back to 2004. And the dotted line in 2014 represents when we enacted the financial reform policies that I've talked at length about. It's also when we enacted the plan to address the tax appeal issue that was uncovered in 2014. It's also when the city adopted its policy of aggressively chasing redevelopment. All of that happened in 2014. So the financial reform policies were designed to drive down the rate of increase. And you see it was successful. The first 5-year plan successfully drove down the rate of increase, drove it down so that it drove it all the way down in 2019. We had no increase at all to the tax levy. Last year, no increase at all to the tax levy. And then you see this year, we have a 1.1 decrease to the tax levy. This is on the municipal side. What that does to the municipal tax rate is it drives down the municipal tax rate. We're projecting a municipal tax rate for this year of 1.512, which is exactly the same as it was last year. Okay? There was a drop in valuations, a slight drop in valuations, probably due to the pandemic more than anything else. But the tax rate will stay the same because we have seen a drop in the tax levy. Now, this chart shows non-tax revenue since 2014. We've been able to hold the line on taxes because we've been increasing non-tax revenue, alternatives to tax. Okay, and it's been a fairly steady increase every year. That little spike that you see in 2017, that came about for a different reason. That was a budgeting item that we did in 2017. But for the most part, non-tax revenue increases every year. That's good. The more non-tax revenue we have, the less we rely on taxes. One of the non-tax revenues that we have is pilot revenue. Now, I've deliberately not talked a lot about pilots in budget presentations because truthfully, up until last year, they really didn't impact the budgets much at all. I think I said last year, pilot revenue accounted for, I think, $470,000 in a $109 million budget. It was something like 0.4%. Really wasn't significant. Well, that number is going to keep changing. Okay, I always said pilots were the future of Hackensack, and the future is happening now. In 2021, pilot revenue is up substantially. It's about 1.3 million, much larger than it was last year. Truth be told, pilot revenue next year in 2022 is going to be a lot more significant. The year after that, even more significant. Pilots as a budget item are going to become more and more prevalent each year. And I felt that it was time that we really need to have a discussion about pilots. Pilots are very, very misunderstood, okay, from a budget perspective. You know, we've heard pilots talked about from a redevelopment standpoint, but I'm talking about from a budget perspective. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I wanted to talk for a minute about pilots, basically what they are, what they aren't. Are they needed in Hackensack? And the most important question of all, the question in my opinion doesn't get asked nearly enough, are they working? So we start with what they are. A pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. Everybody's heard that, okay? And what it is pilots are incentives to develop in the hopes of attracting more development, non-pilot development, okay? That's what a pilot is. The best definition of pilots that I've ever heard is a catalyst for investment in surrounding properties. That was a definition given by Brian Nelson, our redevelopment attorney, at a presentation he did with Fran Reiner, the city's planner, back in the summer of 2014. And it really speaks to what a pilot really is. A pilot is a catalyst for investment in the surrounding properties. That's what a pilot is. Now, there's a lot of talk about pilots, and there are things that pilots are not. Pilots are called giveaways, and it's understandable why people call a pilot a giveaway. It's an incentive to a developer. A piece of property sits underdeveloped for a long time. And, if you were to ask a developer, why wouldn't you develop this piece of property? And he would say it's unprofitable. Okay. So what we do is we offer them a break on the future taxes of that property for a certain period of time in the hopes that that property will get developed and it'll spur development in the surrounding properties. Okay. But it's important to understand that in terms of a giveaway, pilots are only given when it's been determined that a property won't be developed without it. What that means is that if there's no pilot, there is no development. And if there's no development, there's no additional revenue, there's nothing to give away. So that's something that people just really need to understand about pilots. Likewise, it's also said that schools receive less with pilots. And that statement bothers me because it's definitely a true statement that the school district does not receive pilot revenue. That's true, right? But it's not true that schools receive less with pilots, okay? Pilots have no impact at all on the school tax levy, just like delinquent taxes have no impact on the school tax levy. If a property has a pilot, the school still gets the full tax levy. If a property owner doesn't pay their taxes and is delinquent, the schools still get the total school tax levy. Schools always receive 100% of the school tax levy, regardless of pilots, regardless of delinquent taxes. We grant tax exemptions to disabled veterans. When we do that, the veteran doesn't have to pay his taxes, but the school still receives the full taxes. Similarly, with tax appeal refunds, taxpayer appeals their taxes, and we end up refunding, the taxes that they paid, but the school has already received all of their taxes. These things impact the city's tax levy, but they don't impact the school tax levy. Schools don't receive less because of pilots. Now, it's true that if pilots work as intended, the schools will actually receive more tax revenue and their school tax rate ends up being lowered. That's a true statement. Now, are they needed in Hackensack? Pilots are a drastic step. They're not something that you would enter into lightly, okay? And this chart here shows the drop in Hackensack property values from 2007 until 2015. Now, just real quick economic history. The housing bubble burst in 2007, which triggered the Great Recession. The Great Recession basically was over in 2009. By 2010, 2011, if you were to look at the communities surrounding Hackensack, and I've looked at them, those communities started rebounding. Property valuations started going up 2010, 2011. And not in Hackensack. In Hackensack, they kept going down. We see a $1 billion drop just between 2010 and 2011. And in this period, 2007 to 2015, there's a drop of 1.4 billion. That's substantial. that's not just a decline in property values. Quite frankly, that's a death spiral, okay? Something needs to be done to stop that immediately. The option of taking no action at all is not an option. If you did nothing at all, property values would continue to go down. So were pilots needed? Well, clearly something was needed, okay? Something had to happen to stop this drop in property values. So that brings up the question, pilots, are they working? All right. Now you got to understand that what we said was pilots are incentives to developers that act as a catalyst to attract new ratables to the city. And the key is the new ratables. These new ratables would then increase the total tax revenue, not just to the city, but also to the school district. Okay? So pilots, if they're successful in attracting new developments, tax rates are going to fall where they would otherwise rise. Okay? And that's a key part. I gotta say that again. If pilots are successful in attracting new development, tax rates will fall where they would normally increase. Okay, now to see if they're working, and we really need to know, are they working or not? Okay, we can look at the city's taxes. And if you look at the city's tax rate, again, pilots, the policy was adopted in 2014, pursued 2015, started to have an impact on city finances around 2017. And we see that the city's tax rate is dropping. Okay, so can you say pilots are working? Well, you can't say it based on this, because if you notice, the city's tax levy has also gone down. And it would make sense if the levy goes down, yeah, the rate should go down. So are pilots working? Well, you really can't tell by looking at city taxes, okay? But if you look at the school taxes, you see that since 2017, the school tax rate has gone down every year. But the school tax levy goes up every year. Every year, school spending increases, and the school tax levy, the portion of school spending that's dependent on property taxes, that goes up every year. But yet the school tax rate is going down. The reason that it's going down is because we're attracting new ratables. New ratables are a larger pool that we can spread that levy over, and that's going to drive the tax rate down. So to ask the question, are pilots working? Yes, they are. Okay. Increases in the school tax levy are supposed to lead to increases in the school tax rate. That's not happening. Instead, school tax rate is dropping while the school tax levy is going up. Okay. That's because there's a new business climate in Hackensack that's attracting businesses. And that business climate was spurred by the city's redevelopment policies regarding things like pilots. Now, I think about these things a lot, and just to tell you a quick story. After work one day, I was at the gym on the treadmill. I go to Retro Fitness down on Commerce Way, okay? And I've been going there since 2014. And when I go, Westie's Self-Storage is the building that's right next to the gym. I've seen this building built. This was an empty lot back in 2014. And I watched this building go up. And every time I watch it go up, you know, I think about taxes. Okay? So I got to thinking about Westie's, and I looked it up. And in 2015, this property was paying $77,000 a year in taxes. Well, in 2020, it's now paying, I can't see my screen. There we go. In 2020, it's now paying $470,000. Now, one day when I came out of the gym, I was riding along Hackensack Avenue, and it occurred to me, well, Westie's isn't the only one. Just driving along Hackensack Avenue, you pass the Quick Check, okay? Now in 2017, as recently as 2017, this property was paying $31,000 a year in taxes. Last year, it paid $85,000. Just beyond the Quick Check is Investors Bank across the street from Target. 2017, this property was paying $18,000. Now it's paying $71,000. You know, if you keep traveling south along Hackensack Avenue, You come to the Atlantis Market, which is a gas station in Dunkin' Donuts. This is at the corner of River Street in Kansas. This used to be an empty corner lot. 2017, they're paying $37,000 in taxes. Last year, they paid $77,000. And if you travel all the way down Hackensack Avenue, you get to the Wawa. As recently as 2015, this property was paying $45,000 a year in taxes. Last year, it paid $111,000. Now, these are just a handful of businesses that I picked out when I drove along Hackensack Avenue. There's a number more. There's at least 3 other storage facilities on Hackensack Avenue that have opened up in just the last couple of years where vacant lots used to be. But just looking at these 5 properties alone, they're all new developments. They've all come in to Hackensack in the last couple of years. And these particular businesses all add no burden at all to the school system. Okay? They have no pilot agreements. They pay full taxes, but they generate over $6,000 a year in new taxes. Okay? And most importantly, these 5 properties chose to invest in Hackensack now. Now, if you think back to that chart that showed the decline in property values between 2007 and 2015, well, these properties and many others came into Hackensack after that drop. And they came in because the city has a very favorable financial climate. Okay? That comes about for a number of reasons, and you have to give some of the credit to the city's policies and redevelopment. And in giving credit to the policies and redevelopment, that's where you have to look at and say pilots are a very positive thing in Hackensack. And I've said it before, pilots are the future of Hackensack, and they are working. Okay? Now, getting back to the budget for a second, okay, because drifting off on my pilot discussion, but going back to the budget, total budget, $110,208,000, okay, which is a spending increase of $996,000 or 0.9%. The tax levy goes down $965,000 or 1.1%. This is the 3rd year in a row that we've lowered the tax levy. Okay, the projected tax rate 1.512, exactly the same as last year. This is the 6th straight year without a tax rate increase. Okay? That means that the tax increase to the average homeowner in 2021 is 0. Okay, the tax rate stays the same, and the average home in Hackensack actually stayed the same in 2021 as well. Okay, and this budget, I brought this up because I know somebody's going to ask. This budget doesn't, and by law, it cannot include any federal stimulus funds, which we've heard estimates of $4.3 million. What's going to happen is that $4.3 million will be turned over. Well, the stimulus funds will be turned over from the federal government to the state sometime in May. The state then has 30 days to distribute it to the municipalities. When they distribute it to us, and we estimate that we'll be looking at 4.3 million, the state will also give us the rules on what we can and can't use it for. We have been told, though, that any budget that has federal stimulus funds in it will not be approved. Okay, so this, in a nutshell, this is the 2021 municipal budget. And before we get to the Mayor and Council, just one last thing I wanted to say, and that's Ted Ehrenberg and I worked very closely on this budget, which was good because, as I said, it was not an easy budget. Okay, and what Ted brings to the table, well, let me say this, that in Hackensack, we are very strong financially, and I've always said there are 3 reasons for that. Okay, first is we get a very clear financial direction from the mayor and council, specifically from the finance committee, Deputy Mayor Canestrino and Councilman Battaglia. And I'd really like to thank them personally for that, because that does make my job easier. And in Hackensack, we're very fortunate because we have very capable, very good department heads that carry out the functions of their department day in and day out, as well as the action plans that are given to them. And they're able to do their jobs, and we're able to see that vision of the mayor and council come to life. Between those two, we were very lucky that we had a very able, a very results-oriented city manager in Ted Ehrenberg, who would take that vision of the mayor and council and turn it into action plans that the departments would do to carry out the vision. Ted has had an impact, a huge impact on all of us. And it's not going to soon be forgotten. Ted and I both shared the opinion that government definitely exists to make people's lives better, that we have the resources to make people's lives better, whether it be flooding or paved streets, you know, or anything like that. And the impact that Ted has had on Hackensack is going to last for a really, really long time. Okay. Before we get to the public hearing, just at this point, if any of the members of the mayor and council have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain.
I just want to say I like the way you ended talking about the department heads and everybody working together, because we are just one big team, and this has been a team effort going on since 2013, and it was a great presentation. I like the way you focused on the pilots a little bit. You know, we get a lot of crazy comments out there. I'm seeing on social media that these buildings don't pay anything for 30 years and all this nonsense. And that's just people that haven't educated themselves about what pilots are really about. But people, people understand. And most people, I think we're, over 65% of people in Hackensack love the redevelopment that's going on and know that it's essential for Hackensack to flourish. But it's a great presentation with the budget. We're in good shape again. And I personally want to thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And if I could just say one thing about pilots, it's been my experience. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm living in town now and I talk to more people. But there is a lot of misinformation out there. And what I found is that a lot of people just want information. People make up their own minds. Some people will be against pilots no matter what, but I really think the vast majority of the people of Hackensack want to know more about it. Okay. And if they do learn more about it, they'll see that it is working.
Right. Agreed.
I just also like to say thank you, Jim, as usual, an excellent presentation. And, it's a real talent to be able to take something complex and be able to break it down. And you have that talent. And we really appreciate that. Pilots are very difficult and complex thing to understand. And trying to break it down in a manner that affects their budget and affects their bottom line, I think was very useful. And I'm hoping that, the general public can see that. A very interesting way that you presented it, and we really appreciate that. And as usual, both Leo and I, we enjoy working with you, and we're going to miss Ted terribly, of course, as our member of the Finance Committee. Whether it be his little jokes or, his way of when we were so serious and making it lighten up. I mean, he just was wonderful at how he was able to contribute and still keep things light. So we were really going to miss him terribly. But again, thanks. Great job as always. And, being able to lower the levy almost $1 million, I think was, outstanding. And thanks to all the department heads, because as you said, we couldn't have done it without him. So that's what's critical.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Well, we're going to miss that. And thank you, Jim, for beautiful presentation. Thank you to Ted for everything that he did for us.
Hey, at this point, because we did cancel the last meeting, it would be appropriate to open the public hearing on the budget.
Okay, so I need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Council Member Von Rudenberg, absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Council Member Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, hey, Steve, before I bring the first person up in the public. Is there a time limit on this?
No.
It'll be 3 minutes?
No,
No, I mean,
No
it's,
time limit.
yeah, it's subject to reasonability, of course. Repetitiveness, but there's no automatic time limit. So I would encourage people to speak, to get what they need to say, but not go beyond some reasonable limit. So as the presiding officer, you always have ultimate discretion.
All right, thank you. So anybody from the public who'd like to speak to the budget, please come forward, give your name to the clerk.
Yes, good evening. My name is Anita Rivers, 259 Railroad Place here in Hackensack. Thank you very much, James, for a very thorough presentation. I do better understand pilots. Can you tell us a little bit about how the city plans to use the monies that have been accrued through pilot deposits, $1.4 million, it appears. And then as another thought, how are you planning to use the federal stimulus monies?
Well, first on the pilot revenue is anticipated in the budget as a general revenue, okay? It's a general revenue, which is what we use to offset what's needed to be raised by taxation. As far as the stimulus money goes, it's too early to talk about that. I've told the finance committee the same thing. We really need to wait to get the guidelines from the state to see what we can and can't do. It really would be premature to say what we are going to do with it. Finance committee has talked about a number of different options, but it's just premature to talk about what we're actually going to do with the stimulus money yet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rivers. Next person from the public?
Richard Salkin, Hackensack. A few things. The resolution that's on to amend the approved budget, it indicates 3 pilot program sites, 395 Main, 18 East Camden, 210, 214 Main Street. Have COs been issued to those entities?
Yes, I believe they have.
You believe that? Do you know?
No, I don't know, but the pilots are based on the exemption.
I know, but are you anticipating revenue from entities that are not really open for business yet? That's my concern.
We're expecting revenue from entities that are tax exempt. They either have to pay taxes or they have to pay a pilot.
Yes, and the pilot takes effect when it's open for business and renting, no? Isn't that the way these agreements are structured? That's what I thought.
The pilots take effect when the exemption starts. Because if you waited for the COs, then you would have a period where they're not paying anything.
That's right. That's right. I'm not sure you're correct, Mr. Mangan, but I guess we can check and find out. I want to get back to the debt service issues. And last time I raised it at a meeting, you went back to we inherited $33 million. We inherited $33 million. We inherited $33 million. John LaBrosse, you can't inherit from yourself. You understand that, right? You were part of the council that apparently created that situation. So stop it. Stop saying you inherited. You caused it. The other members, or such as they are now, can be angry at you, but you have no right to be angry at anybody but yourself, buddy. That's one thing. And you're right. There is a portion of the $100 million debt that is attributable to the refunding bonds. It's about 10 or 11 million now. But at your 89 or 90 million city debt, you're still on top, number one in Bergen County, still have the highest ratio in Bergen County. Not really something to be proud of. And I don't think it's something that should go on. I think you need, Mr. Mangan wished he could debate Jim LaCava on this issue of debt. Well, you know what? If that debate ever took place, take LaCava and give the points. One other thing. Yeah, I got to smile, Jim. I'm happy. All right. Wasn't to be vicious, because I just disagree with you on this. All right. You've indicated, and you've indicated this before, there will be no tax hike this year. But people keep coming to meetings and saying, but my taxes went up. How can this be? Now, what the other portion of a person's tax bill is value. And Mayor LaBrosse invariably said, well, your value went up, so that's a good thing. Well, let me correct you, John. Here's the thing. You see, if a willing buyer jacks up my price, that's a good thing. if your tax assessor is doing a rolling assessment and just throwing a formula out on residential homes, that's not a good thing. That's a gimmick. That's a shell game. And it needs to stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I could, before we continue, I'd just like to respond. First, I want to respond to the $33 million bond thing. And I tell you what, I wish this councilman at the time wish he had known about the $33 million bond, because I would have certainly, $33 million in tax appeals that we had, because I certainly would have brought it up like I brought up many other things which were inappropriate. And nobody from the city, or as far as citizens go, that were paying close attention at the time knew about it, including now Deputy Mayor Canestrino, who we know, if she had an opportunity to get a hold of those numbers, would have been all over that. So I had no knowledge whatsoever in my stint as a councilman from 2009 to 2013 about the tax appeals. These tax appeals were basically found the day we took office as a group. It's like opening a drawer and finding a bill for $33 million. That's exactly what happened to us. Had I known before that, it certainly would have been brought up, Mr. Sullivan. And I also want to comment on the home values. As Mr. Mangan mentioned, our home values had gone to a point where I think he used a, I can't remember what terminology he used, but
That's spiral.
yeah,
That's
spiral.
spiral.
I'm under the firm, I'm still under the impression I'd rather have my house worth $100,000 more and pay a little bit more in taxes for that 100,000 than have my house worth $100,000 less should something happen where I needed that money. So that's my opinion on that, and I stick to it. And a lot of people think that way. Yeah, everybody wants a house to be worth 200,000, but when they go to sell it, they want to get it 600,000 for it. It doesn't work like that. So next person from the public, please.
John, before we do, can I just also add a comment in here, if I may?
Absolutely.
Okay, I mean, Mr. Salkin, you keep throwing around $11 million of the budget is going to pay debt. I don't believe that's true, Jim. I think
That's no, I didn't say that. It's 9.5 million.
All right,
I didn't say that. I'm talking about the point. John said a portion of the outstanding city debt, which is now at 100 million, was for the refunding bonds, which is true.
Okay, I
That's
thought
the
you
10
said-
or 11 million. That's all.
All right,
That's all I said.
let's not go back and forth. All right. So
No,
all right,
no, I'm not going to be. You're not going to get the last word. I wasn't directing anything to you.
it's my turn to speak right now.
No,
Right, so
only because
I-
you can claim
I-
it. Your friend gives it to you.
Muted him.
Based on our last conversation, I went back and I took a look. In 2013, the city budget included about $4.5 million in debt. So it's not like we were paying nothing. We were paying $4.5 million when we came into office in 2013. That was in the prior budget for debt, right? The $30 million alone, $30 million in the bond alone is an additional 4.5. So when you say, okay, it was wonderful at 4.5, even though we were doing nothing, we weren't paving streets, we weren't fixing infrastructure, our parks were failing, even though we were letting the city not reinvested in itself in any way, shape, or form, it was still averaging about $4.5 million. Now, you add the 4.5 that we had to add in to cover the $30 million in tax appeals that was in a box in a drawer that I personally spent an inordinate amount of time going through. Now we're already at 9 million. Okay, so that we're talking about a negligible $500,000 increase in debt, and we've got a brand new recreation center. We've got a performing arts center. We have Atlantic Street Park that took a parking lot and turned it into a lovely green space in our downtown. We've paved over 100 roads in the past few years. 100 of them. We walked into this office, we had to buy 22 police cars. How many garbage trucks? This city was run to the ground. That's not the way to run a city. And Jim frequently talks about debt management and managing and understanding debt without affecting your taxpayers. And that's what this CFO has been able to do over this past number of years, to be able to get the city back on track, to fix all of the, or the majority of the infrastructure. We're well on our way. Never mind what we've sunk into sewer work. That the prior administration, you're right, they didn't want a bond. They knew the problem in that Clay Street area. They knew the quality of life that was being impacted by having raw sewage back up into their homes. And they chose to ignore it because they couldn't figure out how to finance those things. Well, we are financing those things. We do understand what's important, quality of life for all of our taxpayers. And if that's causing an increase in debt and we can manage it to not hit our bottom line, kudos to our CFO for being able to do that. Kudos to him. Thank you. I'm done. I'll get off my soapbox.
Thank you. Next person from the public, please.
Yes, hi, Bridget Rucker, Hackensack. Mr. Jim, I did speak to you about the, excuse me, the Affordable Housing Fund account. So you talked about the pilot programs. You talked about how they work. But in those agreements within those pilot programs, I didn't hear any monetary money placed from developers into the Affordable Housing Fund. Now, I have Oprah'd most of the contracts, and I still have some more to go. I don't see where I might have seen maybe one or two that actually had monetary money going towards the Affordable Housing Fund. In most of those contracts, we're talking about 30 years of a pilot program, 30 years now. The normal resident can't get 30 years. And most of you who are on this panel might be dead and gone on in them 30 years. So my thing is on the breakdown, you didn't break it down on the pilot program part to state how this actually works. But the monetary part for the developers to get this sweet deal, we're not getting anything back. Now, the city budget gets what, 5% of these pilot programs? County gets 5%? School gets nothing? So what I'm about to say here is you got to break this all the way down, because in that contracts, all those contracts that I've gotten, there is no monetary money amount. When I spoke to you about it, it was 1.4, but that 1 million was actually spent on lawyers when the council decided to take themselves to court for fair share housing. That was spent on lawyers. It was spent on, what was it? The people who, experts. So the 1.1 million or 1.4 million is not 1.4 million in that trust fund. We should be so far ahead with 14 buildings down there. If you had gotten 1 million from each of those people, we'd be so far ahead of the game. So you're not really explaining this whole narrative out here. You're kind of giving people pieces, but since it was a great presentation, but you got to explain it all the way out and how that pilot actually works over the years and when those people start really paying those taxes onto the building. Because in one of my research, I found a building that was once paying $140,000 in taxes annually, but then all of a sudden in 2020, they only paying $134,000 in taxes. How is that possible if they're in the redevelopment stage? And if that means they have made the building up to par, all things new. If a person in a residential home does that to their home, upgrade, their taxes are going up. So I'm trying to figure out, but I'm going to dig some more, because when I start digging, it's going, I mean, like I said, the digger I dig, the more I find. So the thing here is I need you to explain this whole thing out about the pilot, how it works, 1 to 5 years, 5 to 6 years, and so on and so forth, according to the amount of years that the actual developer sat down with the planning board, with the council people, to make the years stretch out for them. And then we, the residents, get hit with it on the back end. You got to explain that out. You got to make that really easy for people to understand.
I understand that, but you realize that this is the public hearing on the budget. So really,
I'm just telling you, you brought up the pilot program.
yeah, and what I'm trying to, Yeah, then the reason for bringing it up is to show that the impact of the pilots, on the budget. Okay, but I do understand what you're saying. Just the two things real quick, if I could. First, just the balance of the Affordable Housing Trust is 2.4 million, not 1.4 million. Okay, and also you said that you've been looking at the redevelopment agreements, and that's good. Understand that all of the redevelopment agreements are on the city website. If you go to the city website and go to the redevelopment page, it's an excellent page. There's a wealth of information there. Okay, but I really can't speak to how the affordable housing impacts into a redevelopment agreement. It's not really a budget issue for me, but I do understand what you're saying.
No, okay, so we're talking about the contracts for your redevelopment outside of the affordable housing. Contracts, pilot programs, developers. You say it's a good thing, but who is it working for? Because it's sure not working for the residents. It's working for the city. It's working for the county.
What I had said in the presentation was that if the idea of pilots is to bring in new development that'll bring in new tax revenue, yeah, it has done that. Okay, it's worked in that respect.
But you have to break it down in the contracts. 30 years, 15 years, 10 years. Residents don't get that amount of time stretched out on their taxes when they do their home. We don't get that. That's what I'm trying to say here. So you gave it to us in the pilot program, and I get it. I fully understand. It brings in business. But downtown development, these contracts, which are agreements with these developers for these pilot programs, should have had some monetary coming in, and it didn't. I think one contract was $350,000. One contract. How many buildings are downtown? Almost 14 buildings? We don't see none of that in those agreements. We see zero for affordable housing, and we see the stretch out for the actual how many years they got for their pilot program. And God bless Ted's soul, because even the conversations that I had with him based on this was based upon, why are we giving away the city for 30 years? 30 years. Like I said, some of y'all on here, we ain't gonna make it. You'll be dead and going on. But the scenario here is, you don't give that to your residents. So why would you give it to developers? It's a sweet deal for a developer. But it doesn't work for the community. It doesn't work for the people. Because we get bit on the back.
I'd have to disagree with you, okay?
You can disagree.
I looked at it. I looked at it objectively, and in my opinion, when I an objective analysis to the pilots, they are doing what they were intended for.
Yeah, for 30 years, like I said, breakdown, 30 years. Just remember that part of it. When you look at those pilots and you say that you don't agree with me, just remember those 30 years. That's all I need you to remember on that. Thank you, guys.
Fair enough.
Thank you. Kathy, did you want to respond? Because I certainly want to respond to something there.
I mean, I could just talk a little bit about, if you read these financial agreements, Bridget, you're going to see in there that what pilots really are, as far as talking about revenue, is the city and it's a public-private partnership, so to speak, if you want to think about it that way. The least amount, first of all, the pilot can never pay less than what the taxes were on that property when the agreement began. Number one, that's rule number one, right? Rule number two is the city receives a percentage of their gross, not net, their gross income, okay? So before they even get to deduct their expenses, they have to say, and they have to give a full report, right, Jim? You get this report, they have to file, okay? And this shows what their gross revenue is, and the city gets a percentage of that gross revenue. And, as rents go up, as cost of living goes up, as everything happens, that will increase over time, and we will still get our percent. The least amount that we've ever had a pilot with in this town was 10% of their revenue. So, you look at what their revenue is and you say, okay, 10% of that is what they're going to pay to the city in pilot. That escalates over time. Most of the ones, once we had a few under our belt, we started adding an escalator up to 15% of that. Some of the new ones, the new one that's the new one that's up by Zabriskie Street, they're paying, I think, 16 or 17% of what their revenue is, with a minimum payment of $2 million, because that was a zero tax basis. So they agreed to say, we'll never, once they start renting and they hit 75% and the pilot kicks in, they'll never pay less than $2 million, regardless of what their rentals are. So it's very unfair of you to say for 30 years we're getting nothing. No, we would continue to have nothing, because for them to receive a pilot, there's a full fiscal impact study, there's a full financial analysis done by an outside company that gives advice to the city and verifies that, hey, without some type of incentive, this is not going to happen. That's why it hasn't happened for 30 years, why the downtown stayed empty, why businesses weren't coming to town, why the economics in the city were not working. So to stimulate that, this is a tool that the state gives to the state of New Jersey, gives to municipalities. How do you stimulate that economy? And Jim proved today that it is helping us, that we are getting this money. We've kept the tax rate down. Our tax levy this year is less by almost $1 million than it was last year. That's huge for a city. That's huge for us. And we should, and it's showing that, yes, this is working. And, you know, you could talk about the whole tax rate issue, and you can talk about, the bottom line is the tax levy. And that's what the CFO keeps referring back to. It's how much money do you have to raise to support the city's budget? That's the number that should be important to everyone. Okay, and that's the number that we've stabilized, because what that says is whatever that number is, okay, there's a certain number of people, and we're saying, folks, this is what the city needs to keep running. So we divide it up into those numbers of people, and that's what you have to pay. So if that amount doesn't change, or that amount lowers, that's what's important to the public. And if we see a boost, and I hope we do, in our property values, if it's across the board, all right, let's say all of this comes into the city, and maybe not next year, but maybe in a few years, people start saying, wow, Hackensack is really happening. And now our home values, not 1 or 2 spot home values, but everything starts to go up. Guess what? The tax rate's going to come down. It's going to come down, but does it really matter to you? No, you're going to be paying the same amount because it's based on the tax levy. Okay, but your appraised value and the tax levy, Mr. Stalkin brought that up, that's what creates this tax rate, because our property values are so low in this town, and we know we have lovely homes. I'm very happy to have my lovely home. I wish it was valued more in the city, but I know if my lovely home was in another town, it would be valued higher. We want to change that without affecting your taxes. And I think that the city is doing a darn good job of heading us in that direction. Go ahead, John. I'm done.
I'm a little miffed here. And don't take this the wrong way, Ms. Rucker, but I just find it hard to believe that you don't think keeping people's taxes lower helps the citizens. You don't believe splash parks for the kids, parks, cultural arts centers, new theater, new businesses, new restaurants in our town do not
Nice
help.
roads.
And we spent a lot of time the last 8 years trying to create better quality of life in this city. And no matter what we did, Ms. Rucker, I'm sure, I mean, if this was the best place to live on planet Earth, I just think you might have a problem still with Hackensack, and as long as we're here. And that's just my opinion. But we have been working our tails off. It's working. It's obvious it's working. The fact that you don't think lowering people's taxes helps the citizens is just, I just don't understand it, but that's all I have to say. Next person, please.
Reverend Carolyn Davis.
I'm-
Good afternoon, everyone. What's really important to me, many times when I've stood there before the council, I talked about growing up in Hackensack and how I wanted to see the downtown come up. Never talked against the redevelopment of downtown. I remember when Hackensack was a hot spot. So I've never had a problem with that. What's important to me is the affordable housing issue. Because while the downtown is developing, there are people here who will not be able to afford to live here. Yes, somebody else's taxes may go down, but there are people who will not be able to afford to live here. That's my feeling. Number two, as far as affordable housing, now that we see, we brought it up many times, I brought it up myself. My question here now is to Ms. Canestrino. Many times we have come to you to ask about the developers contributing and what can they do to contribute to the city? Why couldn't they have had affordable housing in the buildings they had? Why can't they do more? And your answer to me, and to me, I know you said it to me, was that we, the citizens, could go to the developers, that you couldn't do it. And that was completely wrong. Because you've known all along that a city council can approach developers. You can do it legally and ethically. Other towns have done it. So my question is, why would you tell the people, the citizens, the taxpayers, that they have to approach developers? I'm making that statement now because you said it to me, you said it to, I think Bridget was there with me. And you said it to us because we came to you afterwards. You're always telling us to come to you afterwards. We discuss anything. So I'm making that statement because it was wrong. No community people, no homeowner goes to a developer. That's the problem. That is the responsibility of the city. That's the responsibility of the council. And when we see the apartments going up, the condos going up, the only quest is, once you're putting all this up, it would have been nice not to wait until 15 new developments are up on Main Street to now think about affordable housing. It's been questioned for years. Those developers from the beginning could have put affordable housing. Okay, if you didn't do the first 5, you wanted to use incentive, I get it. You wanted to give them an incentive to come here. So you don't give the first 5 developers that option. You let them come in. But somewhere along the line, to show that you were also thinking about the little guy, the next 3 you could have said, this is what you need to do. This is what we need for our city. How can you work with us on that? You could have done it then. But now here it is, 17, 18 buildings later. That makes me think that the little people are an afterthought. That's just my feeling. I think it should have been done before. And I think to tell a citizen that they need to go to a developer was absolutely wrong. Thank you.
John, if I may answer.
Yes.
That conversation, I remember it was not me telling a citizen to go to the developer. The conversation was about the Board of Ed. Could the Board of Ed folks go and speak to developers? And the answer was yes.
No, it wasn't Board of Ed.
Was never,
I asked you. It was about me. You said you as a citizen. We question you. You said you. I wasn't talking about the Board of Ed.
Well, we were talking about the Board of Ed because I remember that conversation. And the conversation had to do with the Board of Education. And
Excuse me, Miss
I'm
Miss
sorry,
Canestrino.
have 3 people.
Miss Canestrino, I was standing there. That was not a Board of
It's
Education.
about the Board of Education.
Okay, don't be a liar
tell
though.
A private citizen to go talk to a developer. I would never do such a thing. It was about the Board of Education. And yes, it's to do with, could the Board of Education approach a developer and have a conversation? And I said, absolutely, they could. But let's get back to really what we're talking about here. And what we're talking about here is the city had a vision for how all of this was going to work. And the vision included quite a lot of thought went into that. What could we accomplish in the short term and what could we accomplish in the long term? And quite honestly, in the short term, as we've been discussing, the city was in financial trouble. I mean, we needed to bring more revenue into this town, or I agree with you, no one would be able to afford to live here, right? If we kept spiraling taxes, as you saw in one of Jim's charts, none of us would be able to afford to live here. So you sit back and you say, if we can bring more revenue into the city, we help everyone, all right? We help all of our homeowners, regardless of socioeconomic background. We help them all because bringing that revenue in is going to lower the taxes that the citizens have to pay. We help the renters because by stabilizing taxes to the apartment owners, they don't have to raise or increase their rents to support continual rising in taxes. So to bring revenue in, the first thing we wanted to do is put out the fire, right? Stop the bleeding. So we looked at our downtown and we visualized, we actually said, I know I've said these words before, it was like an unclaimed jewel to us. We were receiving minimal revenue from our downtown, minimal. And without impacting the rest of our city, with still keeping our neighborhoods the way they were, because very few people lived in the downtown. We saw a way that we could bring a substantial amount of revenue into the city. And yes, we wanted to maximize that investment because we needed to do that, right? And that's what we're accomplishing. And as part of that, we always, always, always start the conversation with asking for affordable housing to be included in those buildings. When we do the financial analysis, when we saw that return on our investment, we still made them contribute. Not the first few, I agree with Ms. Rucker. The first few, there were very few requirements because we needed to start that fire, okay? But once we got through those first few, then they had to contribute to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund so that we could start to implement a plan to provide affordable housing. And part of that was to get a settlement with Fair Share, to understand what legally we were required to do, because without that settlement, someone could have come in and said from the state, you don't have a settlement. So that $2.4 million that Jim talked about, they could have taken it from us and said, we could spend that elsewhere. So we had to protect that investment. We had to have an agreement with Fair Share. So the money we're securing, and that 2.4 million is going to continue to grow because they only contribute to these. The fund gets paid for when the pilot kicks in, not initially. And we only have a few of these apartments that are actually occupied and pilots are paying. So that trust fund is going to continue to grow. But on top of that, we were able to come up with a way to say with Fair Share, okay, here's where we are. Let's protect that investment. And that's what we're doing right now, is making sure that that happens. And it is going to continue to grow. As Jim said, it's a catalyst. So the overlay zones, as dictated by the state, surround the downtown. So to me, the affordable housing, it's now required in those buildings. There's no buying out of this. It's going to happen organically, right? The city's not going to have to stimulate it financially as much as it is right now. And yes, to get this thing done on Lot T is a significant investment by the city, but we are doing that because here's where we're going to start that fire and make that happen there. And yes, maybe some will happen on Main Street and maybe some won't. But I'll tell you, 8 years ago, if we were sitting here having a conversation saying, oh, we're going to put all the affordable housing on Main Street, I'm sure you would be saying, oh, we don't want to be there. Look at the mess of downtown. But we had the vision and downtown's turning around, and we have the vision for the same surrounding areas. And those surrounding areas are required to have integrated affordable housing, just like you heard in the Lot T development today. But is that going to prevent us as a council from having affordable housing anywhere someone wants to put it? No. If someone comes in with an offer and says, hey, I think it makes sense from a marketability standpoint to do some affordable housing here, as long as it answers our 3 questions, it's our vision for the city. It maintains the integrity of the neighborhood and it gets the problem done for the city. Guess what? We're going to get it done there too. And that's always been our commitment. So please listen to what we're saying. This has to be done economically. It has to be done following a plan. You can't just snap your fingers and say, okay, let's just have 100 affordable units pop up here. It does not work that way. And we have to face reality. And that is exactly what this council is doing. And I think we should all be proud that we were able to come up and get this Lot T. There was a lot of negotiation involved here. And I think it's going to be a beautiful project and the start of many more.
I would
Vic-
just like to
Vic-
comment on what, I'm sorry, I'd just like to comment on what Carolyn Davis said. We did
Excuse
ask,
me,
we did ask.
Randy, is that
numerous
you that's
times-
speaking?
Yeah, this is Randy Glover
Okay.
speaking. Sorry.
That's okay.
We did ask you numerous times about developers, how they were chosen, how to bring in possibly minority developers. And on a number of occasions, you said it was up to us, the citizens, to go out
No,
and find developers.
No,
Yes, that's what you said.
that
That
conversation
is
was,
what you said.
we do not go after
Had nothing to
developers.
do with schools. Pardon me?
We don't go, no, we don't go after developers. Developers come to us. We never
I hear
contacted
you,
a
John.
developer in our life. They come.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's not what was said to us.
So
Point blank.
Randy is correct. Randy is correct, John, because when this came up, we said the same statement exactly. If that's what you're talking about, then I'm sorry, I misunderstood this comment from the person before. John is 100% right. We don't look for developers. Developers come to the city. When you had brought this up, Randy, and you said that you knew of Black developers who wanted to come to the city, we told you, please invite them, please, because we are open to anyone who wants to come into the city. The door is open for business. And that conversation did happen. The fact that we are advertising more, we've extended advertising, but we don't, unlike other cities, we don't purchase the properties and look for developers. Some towns do that. We did not want to do that because there's risk associated with that. We are now investing taxpayer money into private industry. We didn't want to take on that risk. So what happens is the developers, they go out, they do their homework. They say, oh boy, if I bought these couple of properties, I could come up with a good project. They call us up and say, hey, can we come in and talk to you about something? And we say, great. Okay, so we welcome anyone. And when we had that conversation months ago, I believe that conversation, or my intention of that conversation, was if you have other folks, regardless of what race, color, religion, if they're interested in building here, we want to talk to them.
So unfortunately, because so many breaks were given to other developers and other people who somehow knew that the city was considered blighted in order to open it up. So as I will say again, the city of Hackensack, as far as ratables and as far as how it was seen, was rated against Camden, Patterson, Newark, and these other towns, which enabled the council to, I guess, go out and, be, I don't know, be enticed by certain developers. It's like, okay, so now we can have minority developers or developers of many different persuasions, but the great opportunities that were given to the first 14 or 15 are gone. Okay, and Ms. Rucker and Carolyn and everyone else is correct that there could have been, because everything is a negotiation, there could have been an opportunity to put affordable housing in these apartment buildings, because we throw this phrase around of affordable housing with not, I don't think people understand what it is here in Bergen County. In Hackensack, a low income person is considered a single individual making $52,000 a year. A very low income individual is an individual making $37,500 a year. An extremely low individual is someone who makes about $22,000 to $23,000 a year. So now you're talking about bringing in people who are making $90,000 a year as an individual. You're talking about displacement. There is a way to do fair and equitable revitalization of cities. I just don't think that was done here in Hackensack. I don't think there was enough public information. I don't think there was enough interaction with the council to bring the residents in to the conversation. And as far as minority developers, I think something that a lot of people don't know is that Anita Rivers, and I have to say her name, has been working diligently to try to help that situation come to fruition. And as a lot of other people, the work group has been, if the work group didn't bring the issue of affordable housing to the forefront, that would have been an afterthought. Because it was no thought here in this city about affordable housing. It was just moving forward. Okay, so I think it's a misnomer. I would love to see an independent auditor come in and look at the books and have a fresh set of eyes, take a look at what's going on, and have a great conversation with Jim Magnan and open it up to the public and see exactly where the truths are, where the discrepancies are, and how it actually benefits the people, the residents who live here now. Because that's the important thing. How are the residents who live here now benefiting? Okay, there's a lot of seniors here. Hopefully they had their taxes frozen, at a certain rate. But what about the people who didn't have a tax freeze? How is it affecting them? How is it affecting the school taxes, the county taxes, the city taxes, the municipality? How is it actually affecting them? What are the real numbers? I don't want to hear a percentage. I want to hear the actual dollar amount. What is 6% of what dollar amount? Where is the money coming from to offset the tax dollars that you're saying it's not being raised in the city? Is that coming from a fund because there's no resolution to earmark where that money will go? So you can use that money to offset taxes that would be paid by the citizenry.
Let me just interject here for a second, Mr. Glover.
Sure.
That
Sure.
money, you can look right at the budget. It will be online, Jim, soon. Every piece of money that comes in a pilot is listed in the budget as revenue. It goes to the bottom line. We're not spending it on other things. The money
No.
that comes in goes right to the bottom line to reduce the tax levy to help everyone in this city. Because that's what reducing the tax levy does. It helps everyone. And you could look at the budget that Jim's going to post again, because we had 3 new ones. And the first year they come on, it's very low because we can't anticipate how they're going to lease. The other 2 have been leasing for a couple of years. Oh, I'm trying to remember the number, Jim. One of the new ones is in a couple $100,000, and the other one's over 500,000, I believe. It's like 800,000 between the 2 of them.
Yeah, 100 State Street is 539,000. 240 Main, which is still at the minimum. Remember, what's the pilot money that's in the budget is not the pilot revenue that we're going to collect. Okay, we're going to collect much more. Okay, the pilot for 240 Main is $277,000. Okay, and then 395 Main is 250,000. 18 East Camden is 153,000, and 214 Main is 145,000. That budget with those pilot revenues is posted on the city website right now.
So Jim, how much money has the developers contributed to the fund that's supposed to go for building affordable housing?
Randy, to be perfectly honest with you, this is a public hearing on the budget. And as important as affordable housing is, and it's vitally important to people, right now we're supposed to be talking about the budget itself, and affordable housing is a separate piece, separate.
Then stop bringing up pilots. Then stop bringing up pilots and just speak about the budget.
Because the
And
pilot
look-
revenue is included in the budget, Randy. What Jim is telling you is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is not part of the budget. The pilot revenue are line items in the budget. And that's why we're telling you, it all is transparent. You don't have to open anything. You can just look at the budget line by line and see it there.
I'm going to ask that we
Next.
please move this. Next
All right,
person.
thank you for your time. Yeah.
May I say
Nick-
something?
Nick Tucci's been trying to speak for a while now.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Tucci. I live at 344 Prospect. And I just wanted to say thank you for explaining the budget and how the pilots work. And the point of view I'm coming from is your explanation really explained to me how the city has been improving. I moved here in 2014, and to be quite honest with you, when I first moved in, the first month or 2, I felt it was a gigantic mistake. And the reason why is the city to me in the downtown and all seems extremely run down. There were broken bottles and garbage strewn all around the police department and the post office. And one of my friends actually had a softball game with an adult league and said, oh, we're going to be in Hackensack. We're going to go to Festini Park. It was the first time I was ever there. In my entire life, I was never to a park that was so dirty, broken, and a mess, and under maintained. And the reason why I want to share that is the mayor and the deputy mayor came to our building a few years back discussing the pilots and how it would impact the budget and how it would improve the city. And I was actually one of the naysayers in 2014, 2015, after living here only a couple of months, that thought the city was really beyond repair. And I was sorry for my purchase. So the thing that I could say is people keep saying, how is the budget? How is the pilot? How is it improving everything? For someone who's lived here 7 years, it's now a place that I could see is on the way up. It's not on the way down. The way the finances of the city are being managed is appropriate. When you tell people that your taxes in Bergen County have either stabilized or gone down, they think I'm lying, that I've actually had to show friends my tax bills. So I think this is all related to the budget discussion today, that this administration needs to be given credit that they really have run the city very, very fiscally responsible. The way that Mr. Mangan was explaining how the pilots worked, and when you're talking about buildings that were empty lots that basically were just areas that were growing mosquitoes, and you get a measly $37,000, are now getting 97,000, 107,000, 117,000. That's how it impacts your taxes. That's why your taxes are either gone down or gone up a couple of $100. And so I would just like to say thank you as a citizen. I think the budget explanation was excellent. I think the city and the current administration is headed in the right direction. All you have to do is drive around the town now, and if you have pictures from 5 or 6 years ago, it's obvious that things are improving. It's obvious that this is becoming a place that people want to be, not basically run out of. So thank you for your time.
One thing, this is Victor Geddes. I'm gonna, Kathy, I don't know about what you said to Reverend Davis, but personally, you told me to go out and look for developers.
Yes, I agree.
I'm talking about, wait, you told me that I should go talk to the developers about affordable housing. It wasn't about, and when I made that statement, it wasn't about a minority of developers. You said we should go to the developers and ask about affordable housing. I'm going to go back in the records and find that particular city council meeting where you told me that. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to let you know what date it was that you told me that.
Okay, Victor, if you find that, then show it to me, then we will certainly talk about it. I know that we had a discussion about bringing Black developers.
It wasn't about Black developers. I asked you about developing. Okay. I asked you about the developers that's here now.
And I told you to go talk to them?
Yes.
Back and forth, please.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Listen, I'll be happy to see it and we can talk about it some more.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Next person, please.
Peter Marquezani. Thank you to Mr. Tachi for being so clear in his comments in favor of the way the city budget is being managed. Jim Mangan's a big friend of mine, a big fan of mine, I should say, or I'm a big fan of his. I'm glad to see I'm glad to see he's working out, because we would have never seen these beautiful properties if he didn't drive by them and explain how pilots benefit the city. The debt structure that he's put together with reasonable interest rates over time. Good debt is good business, and Jim knows how to manage that very, very well. And it's to the benefit of the taxpayers that all of this is being done. This is a hearing on the budget, not on affordable housing, but and Jim has often said we could eliminate a firehouse. We don't have to pay for twice a week pickup. We can stop paving streets, pave a lot less, and we can save some money. I don't want to live in a city like that. I don't want to live in a city where sewers back up and we have no plan to separate the stormwater from the sewer system when we know it's going to be mandated by the state and we have to come up with a reasonable plan to finance it over time. I don't know what affordable housing is. I mean, Mount Laurel has been kicked around 10 ways to Sunday over the decades, and we're still fighting that battle. But I can tell you, affordable housing means nothing to the residents who are living here because they're already here. If you want to attract new residents and you're not going to do it at market rates and you're not going to do it with pilots, then the residents who live here are going to suffer because they're not going to be able to afford their rising taxes. It's really that simple. It gets to be simple arithmetic. And Mangan is scratching his head and pulling his hair out with little he has of it, just trying to explain these things. And, you get tired. I'm grateful that we don't have the blind leading the blind right now. And hopefully, not to get political, over the next 4 years, we won't have the blind leading the blind either. So good work on the budget. Thank you to everyone on the city council, on the budget committee, and everybody that's worked so hard to put this together. And I hope you guys have a good night. We'll get the public comments later if we ever do. We might fall asleep by then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next person, please. I just want to make one comment, and I could be wrong, but correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. Steve, you still with us?
I'm right here.
Okay. So if the city was to build, because everybody says build affordable housing so Hackensack people can stay here. Okay. And I wish it worked like that, but I don't believe it does. If we were to build a 200-unit, beautiful, affordable housing building, if I'm not mistaken, that anybody from any community, from anywhere around can come and apply to live there. Am I mistaken there, Steve?
Well, I mean, and Nancy Holm can jump in. Nancy Holm is our Affordable Housing Council, and she's here. But it would not be with residency restrictions. It's my understanding that these would not be credited units for affordable housing purposes. So if you put that sort of restriction, every community in New Jersey has a target number of affordable housing units that they are required to provide, right? And different towns have different obligations. But if you were to have restrictions, they probably would not count towards that, which means you would have further obligations elsewhere. And I think that's that's the primary issue in terms of when you have limited resources and you need to ensure that you're in compliance with the law. You need to be able to provide those opportunities to people from all over, the opportunity to live in a community. And that was the original concept of this was, Hackensack has always been an inclusive community, but there are communities, say in Northern Bergen County that are extremely wealthy that didn't provide really any opportunity for people who weren't extremely wealthy to move in. And so the concept was every town should do its fair share of affordable housing. And so, if those towns could just simply limit it to their own residents, you really wouldn't see a fair opportunity for people to be able to come into those towns, utilize the school systems and those sort of things. But I'd let Nancy jump in, and if I've said anything incorrectly, she can tell me I'm wrong and why.
Nancy, you're still here?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, Steve is absolutely correct. The way that inclusionary development goes, and there was a lot of talk about including affordable housing units in projects throughout the city. And inclusionary development is governed by the Mount Laurel Doctrine, which is different than HUD programs, which is different than the federal government, which is the HUD programs. And those units must be marketed at first to the city's affordable housing region. So not just to current residents of the city who can apply, but it has to be open to the entire region, which is Bergen, Hudson, Passaic, and Sussex. So there cannot be any residency preference for Hackensack residents. In fact, we would lose credits if our current affordable housing has a residency preference. We would not be able to count that toward our obligation. So just because we're building affordable housing in the city, the way the Mount Laurel Doctrine works, the Supreme Court in, I believe, 1993, I might be off by a year or two, did say that residency preferences were unconstitutional and violated the Mount Laurel Doctrine. So there cannot be a residency preference for Hackensack citizens.
Thank you for that explanation, Nancy. I just wanted to make it clear because there's no guarantee that there's going to be Hackensack people in any affordable housing unit that gets built, unless it's a HUD or state or federal governed building, correct?
Right. It would be. I believe that residency preference is allowed in HUD units, but that's a completely different program. It has completely different income levels. I do believe someone, one of the citizens cited some income limits, and those were actually HUD federal income guidelines, and those are not applicable to the state.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Anyone, the public? Hearing none, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Absent Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
I've got the lamps and everything. You okay?
Okay, so we're going from where from here?
The first resolution.
All right, I just had an incident in my house, so I had to.
You need a
Where's my-
minute?
No, we're good.
Sure,
Yep, so we're going to, sorry,
that's okay. We're going to resolution 146-21.
21, thank you.
This is a resolution for the final adoption of ordinance number 16-2021, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5/2021, adopting the 400 Main Street redevelopment plan for the delineated redevelopment area consisting of block 403, lots 1 through 6, 11, 12, 13, 15, and 16, and adopting amended 400 Main Street redevelopment plan. This ordinance has been advertised pursuant to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Okay, I need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg, absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anybody from the public who'd like to speak to this ordinance and this ordinance only, please come forward, give your name to the clerk. Hearing nobody from the public, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg, absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt the ordinance, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack County of Bergen and State of New Jersey that ordinance number 16-2021 has passed the second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Okay, thank you. Resolution 147-21.
This is a resolution for the final adoption of ordinance number 18-2021, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank as per NJSA 40A:4-45.14. This ordinance has been advertised pursuant to law and now calls for a public hearing.
Thank you. I need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg, absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia. Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt the ordinance, please.
Anybody
All right,
speaking?
public comment. If the public would like to speak, please, to this ordinance and only this ordinance, please come forward. Give your name to the clerk. Hearing nobody from the public, motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Need a motion to adopt the ordinance, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Resolved that the City Council of the City of Hackensack County of Bergen and State of New Jersey that ordinance number 18-2021 has passed the second and final reading and is hereby adopted.
Thank you. Resolution 148-21.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 19-2021, an ordinance to amend chapter 76 of the Code of the City of Hackensack, drug and drunk driving free zones, to add 2 school crossing locations to 76-6 list of school crossings designated by the city council.
Thank you. I need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second,
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 19-2021 is introduced, is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 4th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 149-21.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 20-21, an ordinance adopting 132-148 Main Street redevelopment plan for the delineated redevelopment area consisting of block 302, lots 1, 2, and 27.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second,
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg, absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 20-2021 as introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 18th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 150-21.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 21-2021, an ordinance adopting the Lot T redevelopment plan for the delineated redevelopment area consisting of block 305, Lot 2, under the city's scattered sites development designation for the development of inclusionary affordable housing.
Okay, need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second,
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 21-2021 as introduced is now passed on first reading, and that said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 18th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the meeting can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution number 151-21.
This is a resolution for the introduction of ordinance number 22-2021, an ordinance to amend chapter 170 of the Code of the City of Hackensack Vehicles and Traffic to revise the locations of loading zones on Main Street following the two-way conversion.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second,
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the above ordinance being ordinance 22-2021 as introduced is now passed on first reading, and the said ordinance shall be considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on May 4th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter can be reached at the regular meeting place of the city council, and at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance, and that the city clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to publish said ordinance according to law with a notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final passage.
Thank you. Resolution 152-21.
This is a resolution authorizing and requesting the planning board undertake a preliminary redevelopment investigation to determine whether the delineated area of block 411, lots 13, 14, 15, and 2.01 satisfies the criteria for designation as an area in need of redevelopment for non-condemnation purposes, otherwise known as 463, 473 through 483 Main Street.
Need a motion?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 153-21.
This is a resolution authorizing tax refunds for state board judgments, tax exempt and duplicate payments.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 154-21.
This is a resolution authorizing the city council to adjust the 2020 contract with the municipal prosecutor.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 155-21.
This is a resolution authorizing disabled veteran exemption to be returned to rateable for 189 Herman Place, Block 577, Lot 35 for the 2020 tax year due to the sale of property.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Only, roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 156-21.
This is a resolution authorizing awarding a bid contract for the 2021 road resurfacing project.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 158-21.
157.
157-21. Thank you, Deb.
This is a resolution authorizing accrued time payout of $62,992.39 to Fire Lieutenant Timothy Rice.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 158-21.
This is a resolution authorizing accrued time payout of $84,768.13 to the estate of City Manager Ted Ehrenberg.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 159-21.
A resolution authorizing adopting the agreement between the City of Hackensack and Policemen's Benevolent Association Hackensack Local Number 9 for the period January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2025.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 160-21.
This is a resolution to amend calendar year budget 2021 for the approved budget.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 161-21.
A resolution for the 2021 municipal budget adoption.
Need a motion, please?
Offer.
Second,
Roll call?
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 162-21.
This is the resolution naming the city manager's office suite for Ted Ehrenberg. Mayor, did you want to read this? You want me to read the whole one or you?
I'll read this one.
Okay.
Okay. So whereas the city of Hackensack mourns the sudden and shocking death of its longtime city manager, Ted Ehrenberg. Whereas prior to serving as Hackensack city manager, Ted Ehrenberg had a long and distinguished career in law enforcement, rising to the position of chief of police in Washington Township, Morris County, before becoming the business administrator for the borough of Bloomingdale and the administrator for the township of Bloomfield. And whereas in 2016, Ted Ehrenberg assumed the position of city manager, which in Hackensack form of government is the chief executive and administrative officer. And whereas Ted Ehrenberg immediately implemented initiatives designed to make city government more efficient while devoting countless hours to personally addressing resident concerns, no matter how big or small. And whereas the entire city council respected Ted Ehrenberg as a consummate professional and someone who worked tirelessly to make the city of Hackensack a better place to live, work, and raise a family every day, he reported to his office at Hackensack City Hall, while always demonstrating good humor despite the innumerable daily challenges of the position. And whereas the city council believes it would be an appropriate and fitting tribute to name the city manager's office suite at Hackensack City Hall for Ted Ehrenberg as a means to keep his memory alive for the decades to come. Now, now therefore it be resolved by the City Council of the City of Hackensack and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey as follows. The City Council hereby names the city manager's office suite on the first floor of Hackensack City Hall in honor of Ted Ehrenberg. Number two, the interim city manager is directed to install suitable signage outside the city manager's office suite to memorialize this tribute to Ted Ehrenberg. A copy of the resolution shall be permanently posted in the city manager's office suite and a copy sent to Ted Ehrenberg's devoted family. Thank you. Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Resolution 163-21.
The resolution authorizing payment of bills.
Need a motion, please.
Offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. And at this time, I'd like you to pull resolution 171-21 from the consent agenda so it could be read in full.
Anybody have anything else that needs to be pulled?
Yeah, I don't think, does anybody on the council have any conflicts?
No.
No.
Seeing none, no.
Okay, the following items are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted in one motion. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda, and consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes, including any exceptions and/or additions. The consent agenda consists of resolutions 164-21 through 173-21, with the exception of 171-21, which has been pulled to be read separately. Resolution 164-21 is a resolution authorizing endorsement of proposed Bergen County Community Development Grants. Resolution 165-21 is a resolution supporting the 2021 You Drive, You Text, You Pay distracted driving crackdown April 1st through the 30th of 2021. Resolution 166-21 is a resolution authorizing person-to-person liquor license transfer of Essex Street Liquors and Wines, Inc. to NJBH Liquors for Less, Inc., trading as Essex Street Liquors and Wines. Resolution 167-21 is a resolution authorizing Health Department refund. Resolution 168-21 is a resolution authorizing board and committee appointments for 2021. Resolution 169-21 is a resolution authorizing a leave of absence without pay for Luz Alvarez, keyboarding clerk 2 in the municipal court from April 22nd, 2021 to May 16, 2021. Resolution 170-21 is a resolution authorizing reappointment of James A. Megan, CFO, as a Public Affairs Compliance Officer. Resolution 172-21 is a resolution authorizing a raffle license for heightened independence and progress. And Resolution 173-21 is a resolution authorizing acceptance of Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation grant. I need a motion for this. As
Offer,
read.
offer.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye.
Okay, and then the last resolution that we have is now Resolution 171-21.
Yes. Would you like to read it?
I'll read it, it's fine. Resolution in support of our Asian American and Pacific Islander residents in the city of Hackensack. Whereas harmful and xenophobic remarks made throughout the pandemic about the origin of the coronavirus have resulted in a rise in violence and hate crimes against Asian Americans and Pacific Islander individuals, communities, and businesses. And whereas the Anti-Defamation League's March 17th, 2021 report cited that distribution incidents of white supremacist propaganda in New Jersey increased from 147 in 2019 to 323 in 2020. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in our community and throughout the state of New Jersey are increasingly concerned about their safety and security, given the rise in hate crimes and racially motivated attacks throughout the United States. And whereas over 20% of Bergen County's population identifies as Asian American or Pacific Islander, including being the home of one of the largest Korean American communities in the United States. And whereas according to statistics among Bergen County's top 10 languages spoken at home, 4 are Asian and Pacific Island languages: Korean third, Chinese fourth, Tagalog fifth, and Arabic sixth, with many more in the top 50. And whereas Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have enriched the city of Hackensack and its surrounding communities by excelling in many fields, including education, business, science, technology, government, sports, and the arts. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Hackensack condemns racism, xenophobia, and acts of intolerance against people of all races, national origin, and ethnicities. And be it further resolved that the city of Hackensack joins other municipalities, other counties in the state of New Jersey in reaffirming its support and commitment to the safety and security of Asian Americans and Pacific Islander communities. And be it further resolved that the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to post this resolution prominently on the city's website and to appropriate Asian American organizations active within the city of Hackensack and County of Bergen.
Need a motion, please.
Offer,
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg is absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino,
aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims,
Aye.
Councilmember Pataglia,
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Okay, I'm going to ask for a 3 or 4 minute bio break. All right, I know Councilwoman Von Rudenberg, I think, is signing on. She just texted me. So let's take a 5-minute break.
No, your audio is not connected.
Maybe you had to call.
There should be an option on the bottom left to join audio.
No conozco a nadie. No, a nadie.
Your audio is connecting now. You're muted.
There we go. Everybody on?
Yep.
I'm here.
Kathy,
I'm here.
Dave, I see you. All right. Need a motion to open to the public, please.
Offer.
Second,
Roll call.
Councilmember Von Rudenberg. Absent. Deputy Mayor Canestrino.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Sims.
aye.
Councilmember Pataglia.
Aye.
Mayor LaBrus.
Aye. Anybody from the public who would like to speak, please give your name and your town of residence to the clerk, please. You will have 3 minutes.
Yes, Martin Smith, Prospect Avenue, Hackensack. I'm a member of the Hackensack Condo Co-op and Multi-Unit Rental Buildings Advisory Board. I'd like to begin my remarks by expressing my sadness upon the sudden death of Mr. Ehrenberg, our city manager. Mr. Ehrenberg was a great asset to the city of Hackensack administration and did an outstanding job as the city manager. I extend my condolences to his family, the city of Hackensack, and the city council. He will be sorely missed. This coming June will be 3 years since I have been appearing before the city council as chairman of the Traffic Safety and Street Lighting Committee of the aforesaid advisory board. During that time, I have presented traffic safety issues and suggestions, including crosswalks, dedicated left turn lanes, and reduced speed limits for the city, with limited success. I will not be revisiting these issues since you have the necessary information to make valued judgments in making Hackensack a safer city from a traffic safety perspective. My next topic that I'd like to bring up, which is a long topic and will not be able to get in within the 3 minutes, concerns the issue of school bus safety. Several months ago, the Record newspaper ran a series of articles on school bus companies and the many safety issues existing with these companies, including mechanically deficient buses, unqualified drivers, etc. Currently, the motor vehicle laws concerning school bus inspections in the state of New Jersey calls for 2 inspections per year. The first inspection is a scheduled inspection. The second inspection is an unannounced inspection. However, the second inspection under current state laws does not mandate unannounced inspections, which means that it is possible for most of the 22,000 school buses currently servicing our school districts in New Jersey to be operating on a single inspection per year. These buses are used a minimum of 5 days per week, and some may be in use 6 or 7 days per week if used for sporting events on weekends or being rented to groups for outings. This is an unacceptable situation. I know there are currently state legislators who serve on the Transportation Committee who are prepared to draft legislation to strengthen currently existing laws in regard to school bus companies. I think I'm running out of my time. As I said, this is a long topic to cover, and I will leave this topic for a future meeting. Thank you for your cooperation and your time.
And thank you, Mr. Smith, and thank you for the kind words for our dear friend Ted. Thank you. Next person, please.
Bridget Rucker, Hackensack. Okay. So I'm going to just start off this. John, you took what I said just in that last budget meeting personal, but I'm going to give you even more. On December 22nd of 2020, I read a statement. I said to you, If you are racist, be that. Stand in your truth. Because of the fact that you will try to make it seem like you're not, you and Catastrino, but you both are. And I'm going to say this by saying the way you move this city is in racist ways. Wait a minute, let me finish. It's my 3 minutes. It's my 3 minutes. It's my 3 minutes.
No, you don't have 3 minutes because I run the meeting. You don't get
But
to
it's
call.
still my 3 minutes. As a resident, it's still my 3 minutes.
And ma'am, respectfully, the mayor controls the meeting agenda. He has a point that he wishes to make, and let him make it, and then we'll go from there.
Excuse me, let me finish. And then he can say what he has to say.
No, ma'am, that's not how it works. Ma'am, that's not how it works. The mayor controls the meeting. And if something inappropriate is occurring, the mayor has every right to jump in and address it. So I believe, Frank, you can mute her until the mayor is finished. You can mute, Frank, please mute her until the mayor is finished making his comment. Thank you. Mayor.
I'm not going to tolerate being called a racist by Ms. Rucker. She's insinuated it for years, calling redliner, segregationist. And to be quite honest, I'm tired of it. I've lived in this city as a child. I lived in this city as an adult. Hackensack doesn't work like that here. And that's, you know, I find it disgusting and unacceptable behavior, and I'm not going to allow it to continue. So, you know, anybody.
And I will add, it is a violation of the council meeting rules of decorum to make personal attacks of that nature. Any comment should be factual.
I didn't make a personal attack. I said I read a statement to him in December. Go back in the meeting and look. I made a statement. That's what I said.
Know anything about me except you want me out of the political theater of this city and nothing more. You know nothing about me and what I'm like.
Okay, so since I said that, you did the same thing to a former councilwoman, and that's in federal court. So tell me I'm making a lie on that. That just shows you who you are. You and Catastrino need to just admit who you are. That is generational. Generational.
I believe this is a violation of the city council rules of procedure, Article 37, Section 15. It is strictly prohibited to make defamatory, personal, and profane remarks. I can't think of anything that's much more defamatory and personal than calling somebody a racist in this manner. You have every right to cease her comments unless and until she can comport herself properly in a public meeting.
Is that not a court case?
Excuse me, this isn't political theater for you, Mrs.
Okay, you know what? I'm glad you said that. Glad you're doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. That's what I'll say to you. Keep doing. You don't want to hear the truth. You don't want people to hear the truth, but you want to censor the residents. Oh, but it's trust me, it'll be on and popping. You don't have to.
Please mute Miss Rucker. The 3 minutes is up.
That's it.
And Mayor, if I may, because there was a reference to the Greenman case, there is absolutely nothing in the record that supports any of the allegations that Ms. Greenman said. The case, there has been no court, no judge that has found anything other than most of her claims should be thrown out. So to suggest that there has been any sort of court finding of any inappropriate conduct in that case would also be, to use a legal term, a bald-faced lie. And I want to have that on the record as well.
So can I make an analogy to on the record on how this stuff works? So if I were to file a lawsuit, and this is just hypothetical, against Miss Rucker saying she hates me because I'm white, I would be able to file a lawsuit, correct?
Anybody with a lawyer and a few $100s can file any lawsuit claiming anything they want. It's legally protected. They have to then go and prove their case. And at this point, Ms. Greenman has not.
Here is the important part. Just because I filed a lawsuit, does it make it true?
Of course not.
Of course not. And anybody with half a brain knows in today's climate, you can sue anybody for the color of their shirt. And you know what? You'll probably get to a jury trial with it. So next person, please.
Yes, this is Kenneth Martin, Hackensack. First, I want to give my condolences to the city manager passing and his family. Next, I just, if you could help us, we'd like to know the disposition on the Hamilton Place between Prospect and Avenue and Anderson Street between Summit and Prospect on the parking permit.
On the parking permits, Kenny, let me see what that, which one do we do tonight, guys?
Well, I can speak to that if you like, Mayor.
Yes, please, thank you.
So, sir, we reintroduced that ordinance to have the resident parking only on those locations. This resident parking only will be only for Monday through Friday, I believe from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And also in response to some concerns from area citizens, made clear that we will permit guest parking. If a resident has a guest, that you can just reach out, get the Hackensack Police Department non-emergency number, give them a call, let them know you have a guest coming over, and they'll make sure to make a note of it so that that car does not get ticketed. So those were the concerns that were raised by citizens when we sought to originally introduce that. They've been revised in the current version of the ordinance. So it's in first reading tonight and would be considered for final reading and adoption at the next council meeting.
Okay.
No, Steve, it won't be introduced till next meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. It was discussed. It will be introduced at the next meeting. It was discussed at the COW. At the next meeting, it will be first reading and then the public hearing and adoption. Thanks for the correction.
Oh, okay. And you said the weekends, no, it will be open, I guess, to all residents on the weekends?
Yes, sir. That's the way the ordinance reads. 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. So Friday night as well, Saturday, Sunday, there will not be a resident parking location.
Okay. And last, just want to congratulate the Fire Chief Freeman and his wearing the second hat. I worked with Chief Freeman. He's a noble man, a great man, highly respected among all residents. And I think this council did a great job by putting him in that seat. He will help you, and carry the city of Hackensack to another level, like he have done in the fire department, which made our fire department one of the best in the state. And again, Chief Freeman, you're the best. Keep up the good work. You have my 100% support, as you always did when we worked together when I was in the police department. Keep up the good work, and I hope the next council or this council or whoever win will continue on making adjustments for Chief Freeman and keep him in that position. We really need him. He knows Hackensack better than anyone. Thanks again, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Yes,
Next.
This is Candy Stewart. I have 3 issues. First, I emailed the interim city manager. I just emailed the city manager's email regarding a situation that happened to me last week when I called the police department about an individual dumping black water over the Quail Heights wall onto 3rd Street. Police officer did come. The next morning, I called to get a copy of the report. I was told that he didn't feel the need to write a report. This morning, I received an email back saying that he went there was no man in a hazmat suit. They were only cleaning out the drain of leaves and bushes, and that it was only water poured over the wall. Not true. I sent pictures to the city manager's office. I asked him to distribute it to each of you. I asked in the prior email that they have someone come out and inspect, because I honestly believe it was black, sooty water, that somebody should have inspected it the health department should look at it. And in addition, I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. The email this morning also said the health department felt that it wasn't necessary to come out and inspect it. I don't know how they could do that without coming out and inspecting it. So that's my first issue. My second issue is I applaud you for the Asian American Pacific Islander resolution. However, I'm also disappointed that we were at the NAACP rally on Saturday and did not see one city council member, not the mayor, not the deputy mayors, not council members at that rally. And thirdly, on the affordable housing issue, I think the ordinance that I guess was the first reading this evening, I don't think it goes far enough. I think that every unit should have a certain number of affordable housing units. I don't think any developer in the future should get away with putting money into a fund so that they don't have to include affordable housing in those units. So that's my three things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Next person from the panel, please.
Yes, Victor Geddes from Hackensack. Two things. First, John, you know, I think you should have let Ms. Rucker finish her statement because she was stating facts, not facts, but information that was in the paper about you and Kathy. I don't know how far the lawsuit going, but it's just in the papers. That's what it was in the papers, that somebody is possibly trying to sue Kathy for $40 million, and he called her anti-Semite. Okay, number two. On about 2 weeks ago, we had a community forum, and we invited your candidate or your person who you believe will represent the African American community, Mr. Carroll and Mr. Sims. Kathy Calistrino once called me a coward, but to me, these two gentlemen are cowards. The excuses that they used for not showing up was not true. Dave Sims used the excuse that about his mother, but we saw Dave Sims at a food event. If you was at that much concern, why would you be at a food event? And Mr. Carroll, let me let you know who I am. My name is Victor Geddes. My wife is Deborah Keeling Geddes. When you called my house, I heard the conversation that you couldn't show up because your wife was ill and you had to help out with your grandchildren. I grant you. But then come to find out, then you also stated that you was in the process of doing a sale of a home. Then your PR person was calling with another story. So which was it? What story was us to believe? You know, we need to, if Mr. Sales and Mr. Carroll are the designated people to the Black community, we like to hear from you. Thank you.
Mr. Geddes.
Yes.
You're fully within your rights to attack Deputy Mayor Sims because he is a city council member. Mr. Carroll is not a city council member. He's running for city council. Therefore, I feel it's inappropriate to attack somebody who's not even in office.
Well, Mr. Carroll, you put him on the slate, John. You put him on
the Carroll in personal business. You call him. Calling him out here because he's a candidate for city council, and that is inappropriate. I
don't think so.
Of course you don't think so. But if I called out every one of your people that are running for office, you'd think that was appropriate.
Whatever people running for. I'm talking about, this is my conversation. I'm not talking, you know, it was Mr. Carroll who promised the group of citizens that he would be at this event.
Carroll is a member of this council at this time.
Okay.
Right? Appropriate.
It's me, your dry skin. I'm craving something we're missing. The ceramides and CeraVe. They help.
Next.
Leo, I wish you stopped saying next. You got a problem? You need to come and talk to me. Because
Next person from the public, please.
Carolyn Davis has her hand raised on Zoom. I'm not sure if she wants to speak.
She hasn't spoken in this, right? Has she?
No, she has not.
No.
She's on mute, though.
No, I'm unmuted. I'm unmuted.
No, she's not.
Right.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
So,
All right, I am unmuted. Reverend Davis, I spoke on the other issue, not this time. First of all, I want to give my condolences to Ted. I didn't do it before. I really had a good relationship with Ted, and I've said it before at present city council meetings, took care of the issue on my block. I've always made it my business when I come before city council to try and be respectful. I also believe in saying what's on my mind. If I disagree with something, I'll say it. And if I agree with something, I'll say it. And I've said it on many occasions. But again, I will not be made to think or people to think that I don't know what I'm talking about. Going back to that conversation, there were two conversations, Ms. Canestrino. One about the Board of Education. And in that conversation, I asked you about helping the Board of Ed. Couldn't you do something because you know more developers than they do? And you said to me, the Board of Ed can go to the developers themselves. And then you added, in fact, you can even go as a citizen. I may be old, but I'm not senile. That was a conversation. So I know you're probably going to deny it, but that was a conversation. Because my only issue is I knew from the beginning, I as a citizen could not go. And I walked away from that conversation saying, she should know that. I can't go to it. So I am clarifying that right now because you overtalked me before and did not give me a chance to respond to that. As far as the affordable housing, no one ever asked, and I did not ask, and I have enough intelligence to know that you cannot put affordable housing all over Hackensack. That's never what was requested. What we said was, and what I have said is, they could have put a certain percentage of affordable housing all along. We never said to make all of Hackensack affordable housing. I know that's not possible. All I'm saying, what is being done now, I felt could have been done earlier. So this is my chance to clarify what I have said. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
thank you. Next person from the public, please. Motion to close to the public.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Canestrino?
Before, if is this the council meetings, council discussion period?
Yes.
Okay, before that starts, there's just something I do want to add for the record. We did have a closed session earlier today. The only litigation matter we spoke about was a tort claim notice recently received from the owner of a Toyota dealership on River Road, Frank Holtham. I do think it's important to briefly comment on this for the record. This tort claim notice threatens a $20 million lawsuit if the city does not provide valuable financial incentives in the form of a pilot for the development of nearly 1,000 apartments on the property, even though it is only half the size of the record property, which was approved for only 700 units. The city has made clear, and I'm sure the mayor or deputy mayor will further comment, that it will not be threatened into approving a pilot that is not in the best interests of Hackensack's residents. Moreover, this tort claim notice contains bizarre allegations, personal attacks, and ethnic insults, including suggesting that the deputy mayor, whose husband was Italian and of course has an Italian-sounding last name, is acting like a member of the Cosa Nostra. Given all of the personal attacks are focused on Deputy Mayor Canestrino, rather than all of the other male city representatives who have advised that they have deep concerns with this plan, it seems the claimant has a very serious problem dealing with accomplished women. To be clear, any applicant, including Mr. Holtham or anyone else, has the absolute right to go to the planning board and to receive fair consideration of any application submitted. But I do want to make it clear that the city is not going to be threatened into providing financial incentives using its redevelopment powers, which are purely discretionary, for any project that is too big for the property or otherwise does not meet the city's high standards. So I do want to make it perfectly clear that it is the council's position that if a lawsuit is filed the city is going to fight and fully expects to win. I did want to get that on the record because that was discussed in closed session, and I trust the deputy mayor may have further comments.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, I would like to comment further. Just to make it very clear, decisions on pilots are made by the governing body. And this is why you see so many resolutions, even tonight, some things you'll see us initiate a study or approve a study, approve a plan, approve a financial agreement, on and on and on. The governing body in total has the right to review information and to approve or not approve each step of the way towards any financial incentive or pilot agreement. Make it perfectly clear, pilots are for the benefit of the city and of the city, not of an individual seller of property. In fact, the redevelopment committee doesn't meet with sellers of property. We're not in the real estate business. We only meet with the developers of the property. So someone comes in, they make their own arrangements with the seller, they come to the city and they ask or inquire about reviewing their project, whether they're going to look for a financial incentive or if they're going to be directed to one of our boards. This council, when they make a decision, or we're guided by the same three questions that we've looked at since we came into office. One, does this project meet or satisfy the vision, our vision for the city of Hackensack? Two, does it maintain the integrity of our neighborhoods? So if we're looking at a development, where is that development going? And does it have an impact or a change on a neighborhood? And three, what's the return on investment for the city? What is the city getting from this agreement? This particular seller apparently promised someone who was interested in purchasing the property that he could build 980 units and would be guaranteed a pilot. No one is guaranteed a pilot. No seller has any right to demand that a pilot be given to a particular property. In fact, other developers have come to us and they've been told no, that it doesn't meet any one of the criteria that this particular council has set in place. This is not the first one. Actually, looking at the Toyota property, it is not in the rehab zone. And honestly, we were never considering it for a pilot, but a prior developer who was looking at developing that property had come to us, a while back, a few years ago. And when he explained the situation, it kind of made us curious. For example, when you're going to build something, you can't build it to the detriment of your neighbor. And to be able to build on that Toyota property, you would have to fill and raise that property a considerable amount. And in doing so, what would you do to our Foschini Park? You would turn it into a bowl, all right? We have some issues now. It would be 10 times or a magnitude even greater worse should that happen. So this particular developer said, if you would consider talking about a pilot with us, we would do the same for Foschini Park, right? We would eliminate all of the drainage issues. We would raise the property so it would be consistent with ours, and money that the city was going to be investing in that park, which could be substantial, would all be accomplished as we work together. And no financial agreement was ever finalized with this person, but it kind of piqued our interest that if we knew we have work to get done in Foschini Park, and if there was some way that we could get this done, we thought we might entertain it. But other than that, this particular piece of property was not in the rehab zone. It didn't meet all of our criteria, and it wasn't anything that was really under consideration, and certainly not for 980 units. As Steve Kleiman said, the largest amount of units that we've been able to even consider for a pilot was the record property. The record property is twice the size of the Toyota property, yet to be considered for a pilot, we held them to 700 units. So there was no reason that we would extend anything beyond that. Now, the fact that this particular individual thinks that they can intimidate this council into giving something that is not what's in line with what the city should be doing or should be having, totally out of line. And if I have any say in this, and again, I'm only 1 vote out of 5, but we're not going to be intimidated to do anything that is not in the best interest of the city. And if it takes a bunch of name calling on my behalf, I'm big enough to stand up to that. And I 100%. And actually, this tort claim comes at a very interesting point that this just happened. I mean, we've been talking a lot about pilots tonight, and I think this is just a great example that this city is very serious about these types of initiatives and does so with a very firm hand. I know it's my turn to speak. I think I've spoke more than enough tonight about everything else. So I just want to thank everyone for coming and participating, and please continue to do so. Thank you.
Okay, who's up? Leo?
No. Maybe.
Dave?
Good evening. I would be remiss if I didn't begin my remarks with a comment regarding the George Floyd verdict. I believe Bernice King has said it best on her Twitter account. My heart goes out still to George Floyd's family and friends and the entire community of Minneapolis. This verdict matters, but they continue to mourn a grave loss. We continue to look to America to bend with the moral arcs of the universe, which bends towards justice. This past weekend, I attended the Black Lives Matter rally for Dante Wright. Prayerfully, we will one day not have to constantly have these marches and rallies for justice for Black, brown, or any race of people. And Ms. Stewart, I was there along with my whole campaign. I am glad we are going to name the city manager's office to the Ted Ehrenberg Suite to honor Ted, along with planting a tree in honor on Arbor Day, April 30th at 10 p.m. in Memorial Park. I want to welcome Chief Tom Freeman as the interim city manager. Thank you for your extended service to the city. It is great to hear the PVA contract has been signed and will be effective until December of 2025. Thank you, Jim, for presenting the budget. I also want to thank Firehouse Sub for granting the City of Hackensack Fire Department a grant in the amount of $25,106. This past weekend, recreation softball and baseball opened up after a year off. It was great to see boys and girls playing in Fashini Park. It is wonderful to be able to announce that limited recreation activities for our youth this spring and summer. Registration for Hackensack Youth Basketball 2021 Outdoor Spring League and 2 social distance outdoor dance class, Kid Dance and Zumba Kids, is on April 27th, 28th, and 29th between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. in Columbus Park. Outdoor registration will open for this year's City Summer Playground Program on May 4th between 5 and 7 p.m. The program will be half a day, serving lunch and snack upon daily dismissal due to COVID safety rules. We continue to assist in the effort to manage the pandemic. COVID-19 continues to be tested and offered as we partner with the Hackensack High School District every Tuesday from 12:30 to 4:30 at Jackson Avenue School in the high school parking lot. The state of New Jersey yesterday made all New Jersey residents over the age of 16 eligible for COVID vaccination. I encourage everyone to be vaccinated so we can reach herd immunity and get back to being able to socialize with our family and friends. Remember to mask up, wash or sanitize your hands, and practice social distancing. Good night.
Leo?
Well, I am really happy that we're going to name that suite, that office, and the name the Ted, and the way everybody going to remember him. He was a good man. Thank you, Chief Freeman, for helping us in these difficult times. I really thank you. Thank you, Jim, for that good presentation about the budget.
And I know that when you went through 2-3 weeks in a row yet to try to get the numbers correct. I am happy that we're going to continue with the paving program the next few weeks. We are improving Stuyt Park, Columbus and Johnson, and we are checking Roland Park and Pulaski Park. We hope that we can pay Main Street maybe by the end of the month or maybe the beginning of May. I am working with the county to try to pay the county roads. Thank you guys for attending the meetings.
Thank you. I want to start off first by thanking Jim Mangan on a great presentation. Jim, are you still on? No, well.
Yeah, I'm still here, Mayor.
Yeah, no, great job. And
thank you.
You know, especially some of the stuff, it's I like the way you broke it down for the people so they could understand it, which is important. Just like when you did your you know, well, you did a PowerPoint. Your PowerPoint presentations are always great. It's like you know, it's a great tool to use to make people understand how budgets work, and it's a lot easier to understand when you look at it from that perspective. So great job, Tom. Awesome. You know, first night got yeah, a little bit of a rough first night, but that's all right. You know, again, thank you for taking this on. You know, losing Ted was a big loss for the city, but we had you to step right in. So appreciate it. And I think we made the right decision there. So thank you. As Deputy Mayor Sim said, baseball is open. It's great to see the kids out there playing. He also mentioned Arbor Day. We're planting a tree in Ted's honor on the 30th of April at Memorial Park. That'll be a nice tribute to Ted. And also renaming the city manager's office in his name is great. I'm going to speak a little bit to what Steve Kleiman and Kathy were talking about. You know, we work very hard, especially Deputy Mayor Canestrino, at redeveloping the city, along with Albert and others. You know, our other attorneys, our redevelopment attorney Brian Nelson, work very, very hard in making sure things are done properly, the right way. And I can tell you right now, this city is not going to be bullied by somebody who wants to get more money for their property and expects us to give somebody a pilot based on that. It doesn't work like that. That's not the way things work. The pilot is for the benefit of the city, not for the benefit of the developer. All right. We do that. It's a tool made by the state through the rehab plan for the city to rehabilitate itself. Now, like Kathy said, that's out of the zone. We don't even have to entertain a pilot over there. We don't have to. So for him to try to bully us with this tort claim and with these ridiculous allegations, anybody that knows Kathy Canestrino, is close with Kathy Canestrino, knows the way she is, you know, and referring to, and it's been done twice now. It's been done twice now. Well, it's been done once now. I just find it a little strange that there's another inference immediately following, you know, about the agreement case is improper. It's just improper. So with that, I would like to motion to close the meeting.
Offer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody. Everybody have a good night.
Good night.